Hello, everybody, and welcome to the class again. Hopefully, you've watched the introduction video already, and if you haven't, take a look at that. First, I'm going to do this kind of a little bit old school, low tech, just in front of a projector here. Some of the words might be a little bit hard to read on here just because of the nature of taking the video. If you're having some trouble, I'm going to put all the lectures, the PowerPoints, up on Blackboard so you can pull those down and flip through them at the same time or watch them at your leisure to help along with that. So today we're just going to kind of talk about some introductory stuff, some introductory theories and ideas that are going to be really important to understand in the class, and then give a little bit of early history and context for the course. So as I was saying, like, right, the text here might be a little bit small, but this essentially is a Native American Studies class. Now, Southern doesn't have a Native American Studies department. Most schools don't. Some state schools out on the West Coast do. University of Massachusetts Amherst does, but very few local universities have Native American Studies programs. In lieu of that, lots of times Native Studies classes like this one show up in anthropology departments, like what's happening here. Sometimes in a sociology department if the school is even smaller than this. So we have this class showing up in the anthropology department. I'm an anthropologist and an archaeologist by training, and not really a Native American Studies professor by any stretch, and yet here I am teaching this class. So, but just a little bit of an idea about what Native American Studies is so that you know the context for this class. It's really a very young discipline, started in the 1960s along with the Native American Civil Rights Movement, something we will learn quite a bit about later in the semester, and we'll see, I'll talk a little bit about how students in universities, probably about your age, played a really important part in the starting of Native American Studies as a discipline along with that civil rights movement. However, in some other kinds of ways, it's quite old and much, much older than, say, anthropology or sociology, in the sense that Native peoples have been doing this kind of ethnographic study of themselves and of others, like Europeans, since at least the times of the Incans and Mayans, of which we have some writings that go along with that. It's very much an interdisciplinary study. It has elements of anthropology in it, history really important to it, other types of critical studies like ethnic studies or African American studies or women's studies have big influences on Native studies. But it's the thing that makes Native American studies so different from most of those other ones is that it is an inherently indigenous or non-Western science. The whole idea is to get away from Western notions of knowledge. Now, again, I said this in the intro of the lecture, but I'm not a Native person, and so and I don't identify with being Native in any way, either ethnically or culturally or racially. So to talk about these things can be a little bit of a challenge for me. Ultimately, though, what Native American Studies, one of the questions Native American Studies has sought to answer, and it's surprisingly challenging to do so, is this question here. The question, what is a Native American? Let me just check something quick. The question is, what is a Native American? And so we ultimately try and tackle that question by looking at issues of stereotype and representation. Chief Wahoo here on the left will talk about a little bit. A historical notion of what it means to be Native American and the dress and culture that goes along with that, something else we'll talk about quite a lot. And then also the cultural expressions that come along with being Native. And so trying to study all of these questions at the same time becomes really important. I'll do a couple more slides and then I'll actually stop and take a break, and I think we'll probably do that throughout the class, is we'll do these little chunks, maybe 6-7 minute chunks of a theme kind of tight together. Now, a little bit more about Native American Studies before we move on. Essentially what Native American Studies purports to be is a rejection, actually, of a lot of the notions that are central to anthropology. The notion of what's called an ethnographic present, that is, the studying of a people during their sort of ideal moment in time. So a rejection of the notion that Native people cannot be modern in the way that other Native people can, that they have to look like 19th century Native people or 17th century Native people or 5,000 years ago Native people. Kind of rejection of that notion and trying to give back to Native people a sense of modernity is really quite important to the study of Native American studies. And it's also interested in the relationship, the so-called dialectic, the discourse between conquest and resistance. So it is a colonial and a post-colonial study. It's interested in the processes of colonialism, something I'll talk about today, and the resistance by Native people to that colonialism, which is something else we will speak about throughout this semester. Now, a couple of questions to sort of get our minds going. You don't have to actually answer these questions in any written way. They're just sort of thought experiments. A first question is, do we have a Native American Studies program here at SCSU? And the answer to that is complicated. No, we don't have a Native Studies department, but do we have ways in which you can do this kind of study here? That's a little bit more challenging, so think about that. Maybe do a little bit of research on that if you're curious what kind of opportunities there are for that sort of research here at SCSU. Why, if I've just noted that in many ways Native Studies is a kind of rejection of a lot of anthropological notions, is this class located in the anthropology department? Something else to think about. And then, does it actually fit here, or is there some other department where perhaps it could fit better? Think about that a little bit as well. Now, I'm going to stop the video there for a moment, and we'll pick up on our next topic.